All right, so it's that time of year again. Everybody's going to start filling out their brackets. NCAA tournament, thousands and thousands of pools, millions of entries, zillions of combinations, all that shit. So what I'm going to talk to you about today is how to actually win your NCAA pool. All right, now just a little bit of background. I've been running my own pool since the mid '90s. When I was in college. This year is actually the 25th anniversary of when I first started doing it. So I have a lot of data that I have because I have all my spreadsheets still that I've used. Well, going back to 2000. I've seen these things a zillion times. Let me preface this with a couple of things. All right, first of all, this is not about trying to pick the winner of every game and get this. That's not what I'm doing here. In fact, the examples I'm going to show, I'm not even going to use an actual bracket with teams. We're just going to look at the seeds. Again, and I kind of came up with this system. I first started using it in 2002. So in the 17 years since I've done that, I've won the pool 5 times. 4 times I've been in the NCAA championship game where if the other team would have won, I would have won the pool. And then 3 other times I finished in the top 5. So basically a third of the time I've won my pool. Half the time I'm in the NCAA championship game playing for one game to win the pool. And then 2/3 of the time I'm finishing in the top 5. And again, I don't know anything about college basketball. I don't follow college basketball. In any given year, I can't name more than 3 players in college basketball. I mean, the same teams are pretty much good every year, so I mean, you know who's who. But again, this is not about trying to pick the right team, who's going to win this game or that game. It's about a system of getting your brackets in a position where you have a chance to win. Okay, again, you're not going to win every year. Okay, but if you follow this method over a long stretch of time, you're gonna be successful because I've been successful, and I have the data to prove it. Now, there's any math nerds out there. Again, this is not like some advanced statistics or logic or anything that I'm doing here. It's just a real simple thing. It's a little complex, but it's not anything overtly the basic person can't understand. But anyway, so the way we do it, so there's 3 things. Okay, so step 1, multiple entries. Okay, again, I'm not having you fill out one bracket, submit it, and now you're gonna win. That's not what this is about. If that's what you're looking for, go watch something else. Multiple entries. You want to give yourself a chance to win, a higher chance to win based on making different picks here and there. Now, this type of bracket picking system, it really designed somewhere in find yourself a pool with about 50 to 70 entries. Okay, again, if you're in an office pool with a couple hundred or thousands of people, you have no chance anyway. So again, that's not what this tutorial is about. Okay, again. Find yourself a pool. My pool, which again I've been doing for 25 years, we average about 60 sheets a year. It's about 60 entries per year. Okay, it's not a big pool, and it's not a big dollar amount that we do because I'm not here trying to rip people off. But you know what? Find yourself a pool with about 50, 60, 70 entries, maybe $20 a sheet. If you want to try to win some money, and use this strategy. In that situation, that's where this is going to be most effective. Again, if you're in a pool with 1,000 people, or you do that bullshit on ESPN or those other things, bracket challenge, forget the odds are astronomical. You're not going to win. So that's not what this is about. But multiple entries is the key. That's the first step. Step 2, 50-50 games. Okay, now in the NCAA tournament, you got 64 teams. Well, you have 68 teams, but we're not counting the first 4 games. But the regular traditional NCAA bracket, you got 64 teams. That means there's 63 games in the tournament. So that's what you're picking. You're picking 63 games, from first round to the end. Now, there's 63 games that you're picking, but really there's only a handful of games that what I call 50-50 games, where half the people in your pool are going to pick one team, the other half are going to pick the other team, and you got to set up your picks so that you're maximizing how many of those 50-50 games you're getting right. Obviously, the last few games of the tournament are the biggest ones. Obviously the national championship, the semifinals, the regional finals, who gets to the final four. Those 7 games are obviously very important, and you got to basically hit that. And in most cases, you have to win. You have to have the national champion. Now, I have won the pool without picking the national champion. Now, once nobody picked the national champion. I forget what year it was, but it was one of those years. Probably no, it wasn't the UConn Kentucky game, but. One year I won the pool without winning the national champion, but nobody picked it. But then another year I did win, even though a couple of the sheets actually did win the national. I have the national champion. But at the end of the day, I mean, you got to get a majority of the Final Four right, whether that's getting as many of the Final Four teams in on your bracket or picking the national champion. But that's only part of it, because again, when you get a favorite like Villanova or North Carolina and they end up winning the tournament, well, in a 60, 70, entry pool, you're going to have 10 to 15 people who pick the favorite to win. So it's not just about getting that; it's getting the other games right. But the other games you got to get right. There's basically between 20 and 25 games in the NCAA tournament that actually decide the pool. And those games are, well, starting in the first round, your 8-9 matchups, your 7-10 matchups. In round 2, it's the 4-5, whoever comes off that 4-5 line. Now, again, sometimes the 4-5 seed doesn't get there because the 12 or 13 has an upset. But again, if you start picking those lower seeds, this is a problem. Everyone gets all excited about picking the lower seed to the upsets, and that's not how you win. Everyone's, the 5-12. Everyone always screams about the 5-12. 12 seed always wins. Yeah, that's fine, but first of all, you're going to pick the wrong one, and if you do, you're going to make other mistakes because you pick too many upsets that you're not going to give yourself a chance at the end. You want to throw a 5-12 on there? I mean, that's fine, but at the end of the day, the majority of people that are in your pool are going to pick the higher seeds for the most part. So the games you got to focus on are the 8-9 game, the 7-10 game. The next round, it's whoever comes out of that 4-5. The 3-6 sometimes, depending if there's a strong 6 on there, you might have to split a couple of sheets there to do that. And then, who comes out of the 2-3 to get to the regional final. Again, sometimes the 1-4, but you might as well just put the 1 seed on there, unless you get like a weak number 1 seed that because every year there's like this one number 1 seed that's like this team shouldn't be a number 1 seed, and 9 times out of 10 they end up losing before they get to the Final Four. And then of course the Final Four, who gets to the Final Four, and then the championship. Those are the games you gotta get. But that's it. You don't have to worry about picking the 15 seed or the 14 seed upset, picking a 10 seed or 8 seed to upset in round 2. Just don't waste time with that stuff, because you're gonna end up 99% of the time you're gonna get it wrong, and now because there's gonna be a handful of people in your pool that's gonna make the conservative picks. They're not gonna make the upset picks. They might have a couple here and there, but for the most part, everyone's gonna go pick to form, and then you got to get yourself in a position where now you've got your Final Four picks. Hopefully you've got a unique combination that gets you to win. So again, the games you want to focus on: 8-9, 7-10, 4-5 in round 2, 2-3 in the final round, in the following round, and then the Final Four. Who gets to the Final Four, the national semifinals, and the national championship game. That's it. That's about a 25 game. Forget about the 6-11 game. Forget about trying to pick again like a 10 to beat a 2 or an 8 or a 9 to beat a 1 in round 2. Just forget about that stuff. Again, it happens, but we're trying to win a pool here. We're not trying to get every game right. And that's a big mistake people make, is they're trying to get every game right. So now, finally, so we've got multiple entries. You got your 50-50 games. We put that all together with step 3, and that is filling out your bracket backwards. Okay. All right. So what do I mean by backwards? So what you should do is get yourself in. Do it on an Excel spreadsheet. I mean this thing here. With the filling this out. I haven't filled out one of these things in 20 years. Okay. It's a waste of time. All right. I put everything on a spreadsheet, but I start at the end and I work my way backwards. So, because again, 9 times out of 10, if you're going to win the pool, you have to have the team that's going to win the national championship. Again, it doesn't really matter what the point system is. Most point systems that are used in pools are more heavily weighted toward the end of the tournament versus the beginning of the tournament. So again, you got to have the national champion in most cases. And again, this is not, hey, you're going to win every year, but if you follow this system, you'll do well over a long stretch of time. So, how many entries should I do? Well, the way I look at it is you do somewhere between 4 and 8 entries, okay? Because at the end of the day, every year there's about 4 to 8 teams that can realistically win the national championship. I mean, some years it's only a couple, some years a little bit more. But at the end of the day, there's every year there's about 4 to 8 teams that can actually win the national championship. So what I like to do is, and again, I'm going to just use this as an example. Again, each year it'll vary, but you try to identify who those teams are. For the purpose of this, let's say we've got 2 number 1 seeds. I'm going to say the 1 seed in the South is a national champion contender. I'm going to say the 1 seed in the West, and then let's say the 2 seed in the East, the 2 seed in the Midwest. I'm going to use 6 sheets as an example, and then usually there's a 3 seed somewhere that is a strong seed. I'll put the 3 seed in the South, and then if you want, there's usually maybe like a 4 seed, like dark horse team that can win the tournament. So like another 3 or 4 seeds. So I'll just put this one. I'll do 4W. So that's where I'm starting when I'm filling out my brackets. I'm starting with the champion, okay, and then I'm working my way backwards. So again, if I've got the 1 seed to win on the championship line, then obviously they have to be in the national semifinal game. So I put them on there. And now what I'm doing is, and so I fill out based on the national champion. So now I've got to fill out who's in the championship game. Now, the way I look at it is that if you only the teams that are good enough to win the championship, I'm going to pick to actually get in the championship game. Maybe I'll get a Final Four team that I don't think can win it. Maybe they get to the championship, but you want to get some combination of the teams that can win the national championship, be playing each other, but have a different combination, and then hope one of them hits. I mean, that's really what you're doing. So in my example here, so I've got 6 teams. So I've got the one seed in the South, the 1 seed in the West, the 2 seed in the East, the 2 in the Midwest, the 3 in the South, and the 4 in the West. Those are the 6 arbitrary teams that I've determined. These are the teams that can win the championship. So I got 1 South here, so that means on this sheet I got to have 1 W here. I've got to have 2 E in the championship game here. I've got to have 2 M here. I've got to have 3 S here. And then I've got to have 4 W here. Okay, so now I've filled out those lines. So now, okay, who are they going to play? Well, okay, I can put 1 W. Well, no, actually I can't do that. I can put 2 E here, okay, to play this team. And then I'd have 2 M play this team, and then I'm gonna have now I've got 2E winning this time, but instead of having them play the 1 seed in the South again and have the same pick on another sheet, I'm gonna make this 1W, and then over here I'm gonna have 1 South again. Okay, so now I have 4 different championship game combinations. Here I have 1 South being 2E. I have the 1 in the West beating the 2 in the Midwest. I have the 2 in the East beating the 1 in the West, 2 in the Midwest beating 1 in the South. And then, and then I'll fill out the 3 and the 4. Maybe I'll put the 2 here again. Well, actually, no, I've already put the 2s twice. So now I'm going to put my 1s again. Again, these are my strong 1 seeds. And then, so there you go. So now I've given myself 6 different combinations of what can happen in the championship game amongst the teams that are likely to end up in the championship. And then you just follow it the same way with the Final Four. Now I'm going backwards to the next line. So again, on this sheet, obviously 1 South has to get to the Final Four, 2E has to get to the Final Four here, and then you just fill it out until you've got everybody that you know has to be on that line based on who you're picking on that sheet. So I got the 3 in the South here, and then 1W here, and then let's see, we got 4W here, and then 1 in the South here. Okay, so now I've filled out half of my Final Four on each of the sheets, and now I got to basically fill it in. So now again, I can pick the 2 in the West here, and then maybe put 1 in the Midwest here. So now I've got 2 1s and 2 2s in the Final Four. I can then do, let's see here, I would do 1 in the East on this one, and then, maybe I do 3 in the West there, because again, you get your 3 seats here. Again, I know it's happened a couple times, but you don't want to just pick all 4 number 1 seeds to go to the Final Four, because it usually doesn't happen. Usually you get like 2 1s, a 2 or 3, and then sometimes an upset, or you get a couple of other lower seeded teams. But again, this is not about hitting the lottery with like the 1 year a 7 seed gets to the Final Four. That's not what this is about, because chances are most people are going to pick that anyway, and if they do, then congratulations, they won, nothing you can do about it. But for the most part, get yourself different combinations of who can get to the Final Four. So in any event, so you try and split it so that, and again, first you identify who is going to win the championship, and then get yourself as many different combinations of who's going to play who. And again, with a spreadsheet, it's easier to do that. And you're just going to do the same thing. Who are the teams from the South region that can go to the Final Four? Again, and split your picks accordingly. Again, you're not going to be able to get every combination, but by working backwards, you're able to get yourself unique combinations on every sheet, and then again, hope that one of them hits. Again, this is not about trying to win on all 6 sheets or 8 sheets or however how many you do. You're trying to give yourself unique combinations on each sheet amongst the pool of teams that realistically have a chance to get to the championship. Now, you got to do the same thing in the first couple of rounds, because again, when you get a year where one of the favorites wins, like last year, like Villanova, out of 60 people, 25% of them are going to pick Villanova to win the championship. So you can't just pick Villanova and think you're going to win. You've got to get the points on the rest of the sheet, on the rest of your bracket, more of those picks than anyone else who has Villanova. And the way you do that is, again, with the 8, 9, and 7, 10 games. So if I've got 4 sheets, I'm going to pick. So on my first sheet, I'm going to pick the 8 seed to win, and I'm going to pick the 7 seed to win. And then on the next sheet, I'm going to do the 8 again, but then I'm going to pick the 10. And then on sheet 3, I'm going to pick the 9, and I'm going to pick the 7. And then on the 4th sheet, I'm going to pick the 9, and then I'm going to pick the 10. So now, on one of my 4 sheets here, I'm guaranteed to have both of those winners. And again, you fill in the rest with the 1, 4, 5, because who cares? Like, forget about picking the 12 seed. Just forget about that. If you do it this way, so now each. So, and I'm going to do this in all 4 regions. I'm going to have the 8 and the 7 on one, the 8 and the 10 on the other, the 9 and the 7 on another, and then a 9 and the 10 on the last one. And again, if you go to the 6 sheet, you double up a little, but then you do a different combination in another region. But by doing it this way, now I'm guaranteed on one of my sheets to have both of the 50-50 winners. And then, the idea is either all four of my sheets are going to have one of them, are going to have one of the right combination of 8, 9, 7, 10. Or I could have one sheet where I get them all right, and now I'm way ahead of the rest of the field. Because again, the 8, 9, the 7, 10, those are the ones that everyone is split on 50-50. And then again, you do the same thing with the 4, 5. Now, again, sometimes the 4, 5 doesn't get there, but the problem with picking the 12 seed is that they're not in the game majority of the time, even though sometimes they win. So again, I got my 4, 5 here. Again, if I want to split my 3, 6, so here, let's go to the 4, 5 in round 2. So here I'm picking the 4 seed on 2 here. So I'm picking on the first 2 sheets. I'm picking the 4 seed. On the last 2, I'm picking the 5 seed. And then if I go to the West, I'm going to put the 5, and then the 4, and then the 4, and then the 5. So now, again, same concept. I'm not guaranteed in this case because not the 12 or the 13 might get there. But if it holds the form, then in 2 of my regions, I'm going to have the right 4, 5 combination that ends up getting to that round. And then again, it's each sheet is going to have the right combination. It's just a question of, do you line them all up on one sheet, or is it kind of spread out between the 4 different sheets? And then again, you fill in the blanks again. And again, you're not going to have every single combination. But again, by working backwards, you're able to kind of fill in, get the combinations you really want that are going to help you win. People waste too much time, trying to pick the right number 12 seed. Trying to pick, a double-digit seed to get to the Sweet 16 and shit like that. You're wasting your time. You're trying to get every single game right when you do that, and you're not going to get every single game right. You got to kind of look at the bracket as a whole and say, okay, this is my Villanova sheet. This is my North Carolina sheet. This is my Duke sheet. This is my whatever top school happens to be good this year sheet. This is my Michigan sheet. Michigan State, whoever it is, and then work your bracket backwards, and then fill in the blanks later. Don't try to pick every winner. Again, I don't know if I did a great job explaining this, but all I know is I've been successful with this. Again, I've won the pool a third of the time. Half the time, I'm playing Monday night to win the pool. In a championship game, and 2/3 of the time I'm finishing in the top 5. Again, looking at about 60 to 70 sheets. So anyway, yeah. So feel free to comment if you have any questions. Again, I probably could have done this a little bit better, but I think you kind of get the idea of what I'm trying to do here. So, all right, good luck with your brackets there. All right, March Madness.